My main claim today is that anthropogenic global warming is causing significant damage to the environment. To clarify, global warming is a gradual increase in the overall temperature of Earth's atmosphere, generally attributed to the greenhouse effect caused by increased levels of carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, and other pollutants. And anthropogenic describes environmental pollution and pollutants that originate from human activity. To support my claim, I will be talking about the human activity causing global warming, then the scientific research that concludes that global warming is taking place, and finally I will discuss noticeable physical changes global warming has had on Earth. Humans are contributing to global warming through the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and large-scale industrial farming. Burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide into our atmosphere. As the Union of Concerned Scientists puts it, the atmospheric concentration of CO2 has increased dramatically from a pre-industrial era concentration of approximately 280 parts per billion to today's 400. Scientists can prove the source of the carbon dioxide in our air because carbon from fossil fuels has a distinctly different signature, essentially the relative amount of heavier or lighter atoms of carbon, technically delta 13C. The more negative the delta 13C, the higher proportion of carbon from fossil fuels. Over the years, delta 13C has decreased while the overall amount of CO2 has increased. This information tells scientists that fossil fuels emissions are the largest contributor of CO2 concentration since the pre-industrial era, concludes the Climate Research Unit. Deforestation is another human activity causing global warming. Forests are an important tool for fighting global warming and are often referred to as carbon sinks because they absorb carbon dioxide from the air and return it as oxygen. Not only this, but when trees are cut down and burned, their stored carbon is released into the air as carbon dioxide. The final human activity that is causing global warming that I will be talking about today is large-scale industrial farming. The United States Department of Agriculture states that farming accounts for 30% of greenhouse gas emissions. Agriculture not only produces carbon dioxide, but other greenhouse gases like methane and nitrous oxide in large quantities. Livestock such as cattle produce methane as part of their digestive cycle and can have even more harmful effects than carbon dioxide because it is so potent. Next, I will be discussing the scientific research that shows us global warming is definitely occurring. Scientists can study tree rings, ocean sediments, coral reefs, and layers of sedimentary rocks to show that the current warming is occurring roughly 10 times faster than the average rate of ice age recovery warming. These findings are displayed in the Climate Change Synthesis Report by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They also find that it is with greater than 95% probability that global warming will be the result of human activity since the mid-20th century. Researchers at NASA and other U.S. governmental agencies have been able to conclude the planet's average surface temperature has risen about 2 degrees Fahrenheit since the late 19th century, a change driven largely by increased carbon dioxide and other human-made emissions into the atmosphere. Finally, I will argue that anthropogenic global warming is causing undeniable physical changes on Earth. First, we see anthropogenic global warming causing the ocean temperatures to rise. The oceans have absorbed much of the increased atmospheric heat, with the top 700 meters of ocean showing warming of 0.302 degrees Fahrenheit since 1969. The change in ocean temperature affects sea life and encourages algal blooms. This new growth of algae causes what is known as dead zones, where there is little to no diversity in the sea life because the algae takes over and consumes all of the oxygen in an area. Secondly, anthropogenic global warming is causing the ice sheets to shrink and the glaciers to retreat. Ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica have been greatly decreased in mass in recent years. Data from NASA's Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment showed that Greenland lost 36 to 60 cubic miles of ice per year in a span of just 4 years, while Antarctica lost about 36 cubic miles of ice between 2002 and 2005. Glaciers are retreating at an alarming rate almost everywhere around the world, including the Alps, Himalayas, and the Andes. Anthropogenic global warming is also causing the sea levels to rise. Global sea levels rose about 8 inches in the last century. The rate in the last 2 decades, however, is nearly double that of the last century. This can be dangerous because the rising sea level has caused destructive erosion, wetland flooding, aquifer and agricultural soil contamination, and lost habitat for fish, birds, and plants. To conclude, if we continue on like this, we will see more detrimental changes to the environment as a result of anthropogenic global warming.
All right, Kelsey, the proposition's very clear. The contents are spelled out. There's a solid preview. The body of the speech, you signpost those points as you get to them. That's pretty good. There's explanations on the first point of most of the causes. I think some of the information needs to be documented a little bit more. You've got some general information about the influence of fossil fuels and about other greenhouse gases. There's just a ton of information on this, so it's not hard to find additional information to support your points. I think you have good information. I'm not sure that it is sufficient to arrive at the conclusions that you've got, but it definitely is enough to believe that there is a strong argument to be made here. The issue about the deforestation is, like I said, I didn't hear any data about how much deforestation is going on the issue of the ice areas. You did have some information talking about retreat of the glaciers and the ice sheets from a couple of areas, but some of that data seemed a little old. It was 2002 to 2005, and there's probably updated information on that, and if it's been disappearing 36 miles a year, then since 2005, that's a lot of years. There should be some data that shows those kinds of things have happened, and so I just think you need to maybe update some of those things in a couple of spots. There's a little too much reading. You want to try and talk to us a little bit more. I know you're trying to you got a lot of data involved in your presentation. You're trying to make things clear, but we're pretty friendly. You can trust us. We'll listen to you. All right. Thank you very much.